Hey guys, this is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews, and today we're on part one of our How to Build a Home Gym series, and we're starting with flooring. So flooring is the base of your gym. There's so many questions that have come about on how to build your home gym when it relates to flooring. I'm gonna go through all those details. At the end, I'm gonna have a frequently asked questions, like Q&A section, so I can kind of get through all of like the details and minor things that you guys ask. By and large, there's about 3 different types of flooring that I think most people will consider for their home gym. One, and the most popular, is rubber flooring. The second is like an EVA foam, and then the third is like a carpet, turf, that sort of thing. Most people will go with a rubber flooring, and for most people, I would recommend a rubber flooring. Rubber flooring is something that's going to protect your foundation, so dropping weights, that sort of thing. It's going to allow you some extra grip when you're squatting, deadlifting, and those other movements. And it's also probably one of the most cheapest to use, other than say EVA foam. EVA foam is going to be a little bit cheaper, but it's not going to work as well. I'll go through that in just a moment. But rubber flooring is going to be the gold standard, at least in my opinion, for most people. Most people should be using rubber flooring. It's very stable. It's something that's going to contact the surface. You don't have to put anything underneath. A lot of people choose to, but I think for most people, you can just roll it out and lay it on there. Now within rubber flooring, since we're talking about that, there's a few different types you can go with. One is just your standard like square tiles. They also have ones that come in rectangles or some other shapes. And then in addition to that, you have your rolls. For most people, this is just my by and large recommendation for most of you watching. So if you're like, I just don't know which one to get, what would you recommend, Coop?
So the flooring you need to get is this right here. This beautiful flooring that you see here is the best flooring for your dollar, okay? This flooring is called stall mats.
I would say horse stall mats are what I would recommend for most people. Horse stall mats are 4x6 mats. They're 3/4 inch. They weigh about 100 pounds a piece. You can get them at any like tractor feed store. Tractor Supply is a place you can get them. You know, Orscheln's is a place around me. There's just all these different, you know, feed and tractor type places where they're, you know, marketing to people that have farms and that sort of thing, not people that have home gyms. But the reason you want to go there is because they're very cheap for what you get. The value on horse stall mats is by and large the absolute best value that's available. Now, I'm in my new home gym, my new garage gym, and we're kind of detailing this as I build mine so I can show you how I'm building it and talk about the things that I'm thinking through. But I decided to go a different direction with this gym. Every gym I've had up to this point has been horse stall mats. The reason being because it's a good value. It's cheap, 3/4 inches, really thick, so you don't have to worry about your foundation or anything like that. And overall, they look pretty good, okay? Like, you know, there's gonna be some miscuts and they're gonna smell and that sort of thing. But for most people, a horse stall mat is gonna be the best option. You can get them for about 40 bucks, 45 bucks at most places. Per mat, you lay them down. They're not gonna move. I would suggest using some carpet tape beneath there or some other sort of like adhesive to keep it on the floor. You can use Gorilla Tape on top. I don't like using that because I don't like seeing like the seam on top. I know Alan Thrall from Untamed Strength has used these like metal, I don't know what you call them, but they've got some sort of pointy pieces and they keep them together. I don't like those either because they kind of provide a little bit of mound. I would say for most people, like carpet tape underneath, that's what I have in my gym. Now for my gym, I decided to use rolls this time. The reason I decided to use rolls is because I like the look a little bit better. There's gonna be fewer seams. They're not gonna move as much. They aren't 3/4 inch. I'm using, I think, 8 millimeters or 3/8 inches, so it's quite a bit thinner. However, I've never had issues dropping weight on the mats and then my foundation. In addition to that, if I'm gonna be dropping things from overhead, I'm gonna do it on a platform. So for those of you that are like, man, I wanna deadlift in my garage, I don't want a platform, and then 3/4 inch is really what you should get. However, if you're gonna like do some Olympic lifting, you want a platform, or you're gonna do heavy deadlifts, you wanna drop from the top, then I would definitely say that you should have a platform. Now, there's one thing that you should definitely not get. this bad boy. This is a EVA foam tile. Most of you guys have probably seen these in Walmart, which is probably good enough reason not to buy it because it's just going for the general consumer. You do not want foam tiles. Trust me on this. The reason you don't want foam tiles is one, because they're gonna collect all kinds of dust, mold, just nasty stuff underneath it. The other reason is because they're gonna shift and move. And the third and most important reason is because they're basically not gonna allow you to stabilize during lifts. So there's that foam, so it's compressing underneath you when you lift, and you're like, oh, that feels kind of good, because you know, I also like lifting with my purse. No, you don't want this, because when you're squatting, it's gonna compress, and you want as stable of a surface as possible when you're squatting. So you wanna be absolutely grounded. It's the reason that guys like Chris Duffin, world record deadlifters, 1,000-pound deadlifters, still deadlift and squat without shoes, because they're trying to make as much contact with the floor as possible. You wanna be as stable as possible. Using something like this is squatting with running shoes, and as you guys all know, we do not squat with running shoes. Now your other option is what I've got. That's this towel right here. So these came in large rolls. They were 24-foot rolls. At my gym, we use the exact same thing, Intentional Fitness, and they've got 50-foot rolls. They're 3/8 inches. They're, you know, thick recycled rubber, and they have a nice fleck pattern, so the floor never really looks dirty no matter how much crap is on there. Okay, but for most of you, you're gonna want a stall mat. It's the best price, it's the best option, it's easy to lay down. It's just what I would go with. You can also add turf. Now in my new gym, I've decided to add turf, a turf strip right down the middle. One reason I added it is really just because I liked it at my Intentional Fitness, the personal training studio we have. I liked using it there. It's got a like thick foam on the bottom. It's great for warming up. It's great for like doing short distance sled work, great for doing bounding, as well as like lunges, you know, hip thrusts, that sort of thing. It gives you a place to basically lay on the ground. I definitely think it's unnecessary. I definitely think, you know, it can limit some of the space that you have, but if you have a large enough gym and you'll know you'll use it, turf is something that isn't too expensive and easy to add. I would say, and I would not recommend going with like football turf, because football turf is gonna be like this AstroTurf that also includes these rubber pieces, like rubber piling in the middle. It's not gonna have a ton of foam, but the main reason I wouldn't use it is because it scratches and feels awful. You're not gonna wanna lay on it. It's not for like that sort of use. It's for using cleats on and running and, you know, that sort of thing. So I would go with something that's dedicated for gyms. It's not crazy expensive, but I do think it's an unnecessary expense for most of you. Okay, now I want to answer some of your guys' questions. So these are questions that I've received in email and that sort of thing over the years, and I kind of just added them all in here. So these are frequently asked questions related to gyms. One is, what flooring should I get if I park in my garage? A lot of you guys are going to be parking in your garage, and you're going to be worried about adding flooring, driving on top of it, you know, ice from your cars if you live up north, or, you know, just different things that come on your car are gonna fall on the mat. Is that okay? I think horse stall mats are quite all right for that. Listen, if you're parking in your garage, you know, my recommendation is just get rid of your car, put it outside, street parking. But for you that, you know, like your wife is like, I wanna use half the garage if it's cold out, you know, that sort of thing. I get it. I don't recommend you get a divorce. I recommend you just use stall mats, drive on top of them. They're gonna be fine. There's no problem driving on top of a horse stall mat. Next, how do you get rid of the smell that's on stall mats? This is one that's really annoying. Horse stall mats are basically recycled rubber, oftentimes from tires that have been mashed down and then compressed into like these rubber tiles. Same thing can be said for like high temp bumper plates. Recycled rubber. They end up smelling, you know, they've got like this weird like film on them. That's just kind of the nature of the beast of using recycled rubber products, is they end up smelling. Now, the way that you can get beyond that is the way that I suggest is leaving them outside to off gas. So when you buy them, most of the time they're gonna be outside anyways, and the reason they leave them outside is because they want them to off gas before you buy them. However, it can take a long time. So, you know, there's all these different cleaning products you can try to apply. I would just leave it outside for a while and let it kind of air out. Third is, how do you clean gym flooring? Well, the way that I suggest cleaning gym flooring is with something like Simple Green. So what I do is I get a leaf blower. I use a leaf blower constantly. So every day pretty much I'm blowing out the garage just to get get all the, you know, leaves and all that kind of stuff out of the garage. Now, if you want to do like deep cleaning, I use something like Simple Green with a deck brush. So I pour Simple Green on there, I use a deck brush, scrub it, and then I'll like mop it off or something like that, let it dry out. I use that because it's natural, and I'm like, after a workout or something, if I'm laying on the ground, like I don't want that stuff on my skin if it's not natural. So I'm not using bleach and that kind of, those products. I'm using something a little bit more natural that's still like a heavy degreaser, and that's gonna be like your Simple Green. They work well. Next, when's the best time to buy stall mats? Black Friday is pretty much the go-to time for most gym equipment as well as stall mats. The reason being, they don't discount them very often. They're typically around 40 bucks, but about every year at Black Friday time, the Tractor Supply, they put them out there for like 30 bucks a mat. So you're gonna save like $5 a piece. You're like, that's not that big of a deal. Well, it is if you're buying like 20 to 30 of them. So if you're like around that time, I wouldn't really suggest waiting that whole time to get them. But if you're close to that time of the year, then that's the best time to buy them. They're gonna be cheapest. Every once in a while, they'll have a sale outside of that time, but for most people, most times, Black Friday is going to be your best bet. Next, how do you cut stall mats? This one's actually really easy. A lot of people think you have to have some special device. You need a long, like straight ruler, something that's metal and long and straight, and then all you need is a X-Acto or box cutter knife. You put it up there, make sure it's straightened, and then just cut right into it. The difficulty comes when that blade dulls, so I just suggest buying a bunch of blades and making sure your blade's still sharp and just cutting through it. Just score the top of it, get it right, and then you can bend it back and then bend it the other way as well, and it's gonna cut it for you. It's actually much easier than I think most people realize. It's not too difficult to cut into the rubber, and as long as you make sure it's straight, use a sharp knife, sharp blade, it's gonna work well. And the last one, will I hurt my foundation if I use stall mats or something else and I'm dropping from overhead? I don't want to give like a, blanket statement for you to like break your foundation and then come back and say, Coop, you told me it wouldn't matter. My wife's now pissed at me because I said I listened to Coop, and now like I've got, broken concrete. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you that, but I will say that stall mats should protect against most drops. I've used stall mats in 4 different garages. Dropped overhead, I'm at least 1,000-pound overhead presser.
Come on, man.
But I could clean and jerk 315. I dropped that from overhead, and I never had issues dropping on a stall mat. Now, your neighbors aren't gonna like you, the people inside aren't gonna like you, but your foundation should be fine for most people. I would not suggest doing that in the 2nd floor on an apartment or something like that. Still a little bit dangerous. The building's really not made for that in most cases. But if you're in a concrete slab in your garage, like most people will be, or in a basement, God forbid you're living in a basement, okay, it's okay. But most people, I'd say, go in a garage. But if you're dropping away from overhead, you should be fine. There shouldn't be any worry. So this is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. Let me know any questions that you have about flooring in the comments section. Is there anything you want us to cover more about flooring? We've got more series or more videos coming out in this series that include lighting, picking your equipment, sound. I mean, there's quite a few different like particulars that we're gonna go through. This is the first in this series. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time. Peace.